All right, so I want to talk about the importance of having faith in the right thing. Okay, so a lot of people have faith in stuff that they don't realize are maybe leading them astray. If you have faith in the wrong thing, let's say something that's infallible, what do I mean by that? Something that isn't stable and sturdy. So like if you have faith in superstitious things, or if you have faith in anything other than something that is like insanely sturdy, that isn't going to let you down, that isn't going to falter. Let's say, if you look at the pagans, for example, they would have faith in like a sacred tree or something, or they would have faith in nature, and like Thor has spoken, that would be the lightning. Okay, something that comes and goes and it's not stable. And then because humans like to see patterns in things, almost in a schizophrenic way, you make associations. Like if the thunder went off last time there was you won a battle, then you associate that thunder with winning the battle. So now you're looking for signs in the sky as to when to next plan your next battle. Okay, so these things are what's like infallible and not just sturdy and straight and always there. So I mean, if you put your faith in something that is like this, it can actually have a lot of negative consequences. So first of all, like if you're, let's say, prepping up for some big moment, and usually you like it to rain because you've associated, let's just, as a hypothetical, you're a pagan back in the day and you want it to rain while you do this thing, because when it rains you perform better because the gods are blessing you with rain. But now let's say hypothetically then the rain just stops halfway through what you're doing. Okay, now your sacred anchor point has in a way kind of given up on you, and it's going to affect your confidence and your fluidity in whatever you're doing. So now you got to choose, what do you put faith in? Well, it's totally up to you, but what I choose to put faith in is God, because especially the Christian God, because it's omnipotent, omnipresent, and omniscient. So what does that mean? Omnipotent means all-powerful, omniscient means all-knowing, and omnipresent means essentially it's outside of time. So it's across, it spans the whole of time. So the thing that you put faith in is God. God is a stable thing that is always there, all-knowing, and it's never going to be, God is never going to falter. Therefore, if things falter, you can actually think, what have I done to get this result? Okay, so let's say if you've got faith in something, or if you've got faith in God that everything's going to be okay, sometimes a bit of faith actually leads to less anxiety and less nerves and more calmness, which then allows you, first of all, not only to not enter like essentially hell on earth by being in a negative presence, you perform better because you're calmer. When you're nervous and the nerves build and all of a sudden you're making mistakes that you wouldn't usually make because you're nervous, this tends to lessen a lot more. And weirdly, the faith actually is almost self-fulfilling. But not only does it help with actions that are under your control, it helps for things that are out of your control as well. Like if you have faith that everything's going to be okay on the birth of someone, or the health of someone, or like someone else's business, or someone else wants to get better, or if you got faith in like something going well, like a wedding or a holiday or something like that, like it's outside of your control. Let's say in a country or something like that, it's outside of your control. But if you have faith that everything's going to be okay, it's going to save you a lot of anxiety and worry in the like you might still be a little bit worried, but compared to what it could be without having faith in something greater, it can really affect how you're feeling. So, you know, one thing that it's easy to basically worry yourself by having faith in the wrong thing. One thing that people put faith in that really kind of bites them in the arse, which is common, and you're probably not going to expect what I'm going to say, is like sports teams. So if you are, let's say, a big supporter of a certain sports team and you have faith that they're going to do well, okay, you're not putting your faith in something that's fallible. These people are human. Doesn't matter what you think about your sports team, things can go wrong. Like, you can be the best NFL team, you can be the best football team, you can be the best basketball team, and you can have like a historical record for the last 10 years of you always winning, and it doesn't mean they can't slip up now and again. So if you're putting your faith, like, in terms of your happiness and your confidence in life and all of your energies in life behind a sports team, and that sports team loses even though you put faith in it, you're going to be in a really, really bad way. So where I'm from in Leeds, the colloquial term for Ellen Road, which is our football team, is church. People call it church because that is kind of, it's almost a religion. Like, people kind of literally worship the sport team, the football team, and go to every Sunday, you know, when there's a match on or whenever there's a day on, and they have faith in the team, but the team's always wobbly, and the team dictates their mental state. And you've always got to remind yourself that your faith is in God. It's not in anything other than that. Well, for me, that's what I do. And that whenever things go wrong that I get pissed off with, or something that's exterior and outside of my control, it gives me that little bit of comfort and a little bit of knowing that, oh, there's more to life than just this thing, whether it's I don't know, whatever you're watching, whether it's Big Brother, whether it's a reality TV show, whether it's some Twitter beef, whether there's anything that you're being entertained by, there's literally more to life than that. Whereas you can get caught up in it in the moment, and it brings you down to essentially the physical. So, which is another point, is that the thing that you should put faith in, if it's physical, that's even worse, because physical things can be destroyed. Like I said earlier, if there's a sacred tree or something that people in the past have worshipped, what are they going to do when that tree gets burned down? You know, it's like Avatar, the movie Avatar. The humans go to this alien planet and essentially destroy their sacred tree, and all hell breaks loose because they've put faith in this tree thing. Sure, there was actual spiritual evidence and spiritual interaction with this tree that they could communicate with, but yeah, is that a bit of a mistake on their spirit's behalf, having so much riding on a physical object? Because once that goes, your spiritual communication goes. So, you know, God is almost a perfect thing, because if your faith is in something that isn't in this dimension, it's stronger than something that is in this dimension, and it's always there with you, no matter where you are. You know, in your spirit, in your mind, you can communicate with it. You could maybe put faith in yourself if you wanted to, which is a strong option, but this leads to like worship of self, which leads to pride, which leads to negative emotions, because you get so in your head, your ego becomes big, you think things can't possibly go wrong, and then they do go wrong, which means that the aftermath is you blaming yourself. It can be embarrassment, it can be shock, it can be guilt, it can be wanting to take revenge, it can be how dare they do this, how dare they do that. Whereas if you let those things go because your faith is in something higher, like if something goes wrong to me, or if something like there's a bad football result, for example, I'll use that analogy, I just go to God, and it honestly, it just reminds me that I may have done something wrong, you know, like I need to look at myself. What it does is it spurs me on to try and live a better life and not sin, because you can get punished for you know, the strongest I've ever felt, maybe not the strongest ever, but one of the when I'm in a good zone is when I'm living life correctly. Like, I'm not getting angry, I'm not drinking alcohol, I'm not doing things that are going to make me guilty, and or not doing things that are like seen as sinful in the Bible, and I feel like my faith that everything is going to be okay is really strong when I know that I'm living in a way that God wants me to live. And it's weird, sometimes when you just communicate with God, it's weird the feedback you can get. The coincidences get a bit too much to kind of just cast it off and say that this thing doesn't exist, in my opinion. I know I'm not going to convince any non-believers, because only God can really do that, but all I'd say is just give it a try. Just give it a try and see for yourself. But the main message of this is, if you don't believe in God, you're going to have to figure out something else that's infallible, that you can put your faith in, because if you don't, it's going to lead to a life of depression, anxiety, nihilism. Just, what's the point in living? You know, what's the point in anything if you don't have faith that things are going to be okay? Faith is a key aspect to living, in my opinion. And that's the message for today. Thank you.